Hello everybody. Today our topic of discussion is going to be on active listening skills. Well, active listening skills is one of the most important life skill today, because if you do not know how to listen well to your people, you can never be an effective manager or a leader. So today let's explore active listening skills. God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen more and talk less. But we as human beings do right the opposite. We talk more and we listen less. So today I would urge you to pay a lot of attention to this video and let's really understand the nitty-gritty of active listening skills. Let's get started. The agenda today is going to be on defining active listening skills, difference between listening and hearing, and this is something which is the most important part of our module today, types of listening, signs of active listening, reflecting, clarifying, mirroring and paraphrasing. These are important aspects of listening skills. Barriers to effective listening. So this is all something that we are going to talk about in terms of listening skills today. So what exactly is active listening skills? Let's understand the definition according to the dictionary. Well, effective listening or active listening is this process of analyzing the sounds, organizing them into recognizable patterns, interpreting the patterns and understanding the message inferred by the meaning. Well, if I have to put it very simply to you all, listening is a process of receiving, interpreting and reacting to the messages received by the speaker. Well, according to a very top-notch management guru, Mr. Tom Peters, listening is an essential management and a leadership skill today. Listening is not only done through the ears, whereas listening can also be done through the eyes, mind, heart and imagination of a person. So it is not that you only need to involve your ears in the process of listening. Listening can be done in a lot many other ways as well. Listening comes first. Well, if we have to talk about communication as a whole, listening is of the topmost priority. After listening comes speaking, then comes reading, and then the last is writing. Well, if listening is such a top priority, I would really urge all of you listening to this video today to start making an effort, a genuine effort to start listening well to your people. Let's understand if there is any difference between hearing and listening. We all have been brought up in some or the other connotation, understanding that hearing and listening are both the same. Well, these are two different aspects, and let's understand in detail what exactly is hearing and what exactly is listening. Well, hearing is a very mechanical process. It's something that you do not really involve yourself completely into hearing, whereas listening is completely focused, meaning you do not have to do any kind of multitasking when you are listening to your people. Whereas when you are hearing, it's very, very accidental. It's no rocket science to hear. I can be typing a message on my mobile or even writing an email on my laptop, at the same time listening or hearing to somebody who might be saying something to me. Well, hearing is accidental, whereas listening is more focused. That's the number one point of difference between hearing and listening. The second difference is hearing is involuntary. Well, I might be doing a lot many other tasks. I might be physically present but mentally absent, and that is what is hearing. I'm involuntarily involving myself, whereas in listening, I am 100% there with the person voluntarily, physically as well as mentally. The third point of difference in hearing is effortless. You do not really need to make any effort to hear somebody, whereas in listening, you actually have to intentionally leave everything, turn towards the person, give your 100% attention and focus and listen to somebody, and that is what listening is all about. So hearing is very, very mechanical, and listening on the other hand is very, very intentionally focused done. Hearing versus listening, you need to understand the person, perceive the person. Whatever the person is saying, we need to perceive all the information and really understand the person while we are listening to them. We need to sense what the other person is saying. When you are listening to somebody, you are not only hearing the words, you are also sensing the emotion behind those words, and that is the crux of listening to your person. In listening, we are actually feeling what the other person is saying. So when I say feeling, I'm saying that you are really trying to put yourself into the other person's shoes. You are empathizing with the person, and that is the crux of listening well to somebody. Well, active listening involves 6 major steps. Let's understand what these 6 steps of active listening are. The first is hearing, wherein you are mechanically just hearing everything, whatever the other person is saying. You try to take in all the information, and then you actually filter the important information out of that important things that the other person is saying. So you hear, you filter out the important messages in that person's communication. You try to comprehend. Well, what I really mean to say by comprehending is trying to grasp the important messages in that information, trying to grasp with your mind, imagination, and that's what is comprehending. You remember the important information. So out of the important things that the other person might have said, you try to remember few things which you think are the most important crux of the information the person is trying to really tell you. You try to respond to the person, and that's important. In listening, you cannot be a statue. You need to respond to the person, letting them know that you're actually listening to them. And you complete the entire process of listening by understanding what the other person is saying, completing it, summarizing it for him. These are very, very important steps of listening, or rather I would say active listening. We will now understand the types of listening. Well, there are 6 types of listening, and we will understand all of them in a lot of detail now. The first type of listening is known as discriminative listening. Well, this is the first form of listening which started at a very, very early age, perhaps even before your birth when you were in your mother's womb. Discriminative listening means not listening to the meaning of the words or the phrases the speaker is saying, understanding the sounds and the differentiating between the different sounds that the person is sharing with you, and that is what is discriminative listening. Once you have understood, or rather differentiated between or identified between the different sounds, the next thing is comprehension listening. That means understanding the meaning behind those words and phrases that the speaker has said. Well, comprehension listening is also known as full listening, content listening, meaning you try to understand the information that the person is saying. The third kind of listening is evaluative listening. Evaluative listening is also known as critical listening, because here you are trying to critically understand what the person is saying to you. You try to evaluate the person or the speaker, and when you are a listener, you try to understand whether what they are saying is in line with your own beliefs, values and principles. If it is not, you try to not listen to them or try to be very judgmental of the listener. That is not a correct thing to do. So that's evaluative listening. The fourth type of listening is known as attentive listening. Well, this is a very nice kind of listening because you're really trying to put all of your 100% attention into the speaker and really focusing on what they are saying, and that's giving your attention to the speaker. That's a very, very important part of a listener, to give your full attention. The next kind of listening is known as selective listening. Well, selective listening means listening to only a part of the information or part of the content which the particular speaker is saying. To give you an example of selective listening, I once had a friend who also wanted to go out with her friends in the night, and she asked her dad for permission. Dad, can I go out in the night with my friends? Well, the dad said, yes, please go out, but be back by 2 p.m. And you know what happened? At 2 p.m, the daughter did not return back. The father kept calling up on her mobile phone, and when she finally turned up at 3 o'clock, her father asked her, why were you not here at 2 o'clock? She said, Dad, you said go, but he said, I told you go, but also come back by 2 p.m. The daughter did not look, or rather listen to the second half of the message of the father, and that is known as selective listening, meaning you try to only listen to the part of the information which you feel like listening to, and you let go of the other part of the message. So selective listening is not a very good type of listening. The last and the foremost is empathetic listening. This is a kind of listening I would urge all of you listeners to really try and attempt to do empathetic listening. Empathetic listening means trying to understand the speaker from his point of view, meaning trying to put yourself into their shoes and understanding the feeling behind those words and sentences that the speaker is really sharing with you. Empathetic listening is the best kind of listening because you are really tuned into the person and the person understands that you're listening to them heart and soul. Well, anything cannot be left behind with regards to barriers. Barriers are present in each and everyone's life, and in terms of listening also, there are different barriers. Barriers are nothing but obstacles which come in the way of your listening. Well, in terms of barriers for active listening, there are two types: physical barriers and psychological barriers. Let's understand both of these. Well, physical barrier is something which really comes in the way, which does not let the other person, or rather the speaker or the listener, comes in the way and does not really help you to understand the person very well. So in terms of noise, when you're talking to someone and if there's a lot of background noise, you tend to not listen well to the person because it creates an obstacle in the way, and that is not good. Poor acoustics. If the person who's speaking speaks in a very low volume or a very loud volume, it can become a barrier to listening. Defective mechanical devices. So in terms of technology, if there is a power failure or if the presentation is stopped because of any other reason, it becomes a barrier in physical listening. Frequent interruptions. Well, the person you're speaking to, if you keep interrupting that person in the way of the person's speech, it can lead to one of the barriers. The person is mentally switched off and does not really wish to speak more because you keep interrupting them. Uncomfortable environment and a lot of message overload can become a barrier, or rather physical barrier, to active listening skills. Psychological barriers. You might be physically present in person, in front of the person, but not really psychologically tuned to them, and that can be an important barrier with regards to psychology. State of health. If you are not somebody who is keeping well, health is equal to wealth. If you are not healthy, you're not able to have a healthy mind, because of which it can come in the middle of your active listening skills. Disability, any kind of physical disability might also prevent you from listening well to the person. Wandering attention. Well friends, today we are living in a kind of an environment wherein we are surrounded by interruptions and distractions. One ping on our WhatsApp or one ping on our social media can really lead to lack of attention and interruption, which can prevent us from listening well to a person. Personal anxiety. A lot of people are always anxious all the time. A lot of stresses are there, because of which you might not listen to the person. That can be a barrier. And the last but not the least, having a negative attitude can also be one of the barriers which might not let you listen to a particular person when they are speaking. Well, you listen to a person non-verbally also, meaning with the help of your body language, you show to a person whether you're really listening to them or you're not listening to them. So let's understand what are the non-verbal, or rather body language signs and symbols which show to a person you're listening to them or not listening to them. Smiling also lets the other person know that you're listening to them. Smiling is a very nice connotation and helps really to make the other person understand whether you want to listen to them or no. So smiling really helps. Having an eye contact with the speaker. As a listener, if you are having an eye contact with the speaker, it shows to the person that you're really listening to them. So smiling and eye contact helps. Having a correct posture. Well, if you are listening to a person, you want to lean forward towards the person when they are speaking to you. If you lean back, or if you show in your posture you're not interested in listening, it can not really be that favorable to you as a listener. So having a correct posture, standing properly or sitting down properly, leaning forward, showing them through your ear that you're listening to them, all of these are important postures which show that you're actually listening to a person. Distractions, well, today mobile phone is the biggest distraction in this age of technology, and that when you're speaking to somebody, if you fidget on your mobile phone, shows that you're really not listening to the person. So when you are listening to a person, you need to keep away all technologies, and these are all non-verbal signs of active listening. So friends, the next time when you're listening to someone, please be mindful of these body languages. Well, if you're talking about non-verbal, verbal signs and symbols cannot be far behind, can they now? So verbal signs of active listening, you need to show positive reinforcement. Now, what I really mean to say by positive reinforcement means when you're listening to somebody, use some phrases or fillers like, really, did that happen? These are positive reinforcement which shows to a listener that you are truly and 100%ly listening to them. So positive reinforcement is important. Remembering, we at times become very forgetful. While you are listening to a person, it's important to keep remembering things that they're saying. Probably you can even jot down the important points on a notepad when you're talking to someone. That can really help remember the important points in the person's conversation. Questioning, ask the person who's speaking, ask them a lot of questions. That really helps make note that the person is listening to you. So ask them questions while they're talking. How did this happen? What happened after that? This shows that you are truly interested in what the other person is saying and you're listening well to them. Reflection, try to reflect on the mood and the senses the person is trying to say. Read beyond the lines, or rather I would say read between the lines of what the person is saying. Clarification, when the person is speaking, you might want to clarify a couple of things while they're speaking, but not interrupting them too much at the same time. So clarifying or clarification also shows to a speaker that you're really trying to tune in, you're really trying to understand them while actively listening to them. And last but not the least, summarize the entire information or the message the person has told you or shared with you. Try to summarize it in a few simple words, which shows to a speaker that you are really actively listening to them. Well, friends, these are all verbal signs of active listening. I would like to share with you certain tips for being an active listener. So if you are a person who is really having challenging times trying to be an active listener, this will really help you. So certain tips are: respond appropriately. It's important when you're talking to somebody, try to respond as much as you can by nodding your head, by saying, really, did that happen? These are the things which really try to say to the person that you are responding and you're not really standing like a statue and listening to somebody. So talk. Pay attention to them. That's another important tip of being an active listener. Try to pay attention to the small details. Try to really leave everything and be with the person whom you're listening to. Show that you are listening. How do we show that we are listening? Through the non-verbal signs that we discussed some time back. So show that you are listening by nodding your head, by leaning forward, having a correct posture, talking to them, smiling to them, and also maintaining an eye contact with your speaker. Provide feedback as much as possible. It's very essential and important to keep giving positive or negative feedback while you're talking to somebody. This will show to the speaker that you are genuinely making an effort to listen to them. And last but not the least, when you are with a speaker, avoid judging them. Try not to evaluate them. Try to not be critical of what they're saying. Try to just listen with an open mind without really judging a person. And these are important tips for being an active listener. Well, certain facts of why importance of listening is there. As I mentioned to you earlier also in this video tutorial, that listening is the most important life skill today. So importance of listening is because no communication process is complete without listening. Listening is a priority. Business people actually spend about 45% of time in listening. If you want to be an effective leader, it's important that you listen to your people well. Spend maximum time not speaking but actually listening to your people, and you will be a world-class leader. A good listener understands the value of words and emotions. So I would rather say go one step ahead and not really judge a person by what they are saying, but try to listen to the feeling and the words that the person is really telling you about. Misunderstandings and misinterpretations are ruled out if you listen well to your people, because when you are listening to them, any kind of miscommunication is taken care of. So try listening well today. Active listening skills can be learned and developed. So friends, it's not very difficult to really actively listen to your people. It's something that can be learned and something which you can develop over a period of time. So start actively listening today. To conclude the entire module on active listening, we have understood that hearing and listening are two different components. Well, hearing is a very mechanical process, listening is more important and can be developed over a period of time. Learn how to listen well to your people and learn how to really empathetically listen to them. Today, that is the end of our module, friends, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this. We had a lovely time teaching you. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.